Well, good afternoon. Today, back on the 240, I have a bunch of little things I have to do to make this car safe and, you know, just safety today pretty much. So windshield is on its way, probably have that in the next couple hours. This was just a huge hole right here, so I cut out a circle plate, welded it in, just tacked it in a bunch of spots, and then just coated it with seam sealer. You know, I could have just went around it, but the way that my seam sealing gun is it just will not make a clean, like, just won't make a clean bead around it, so I just put a bunch of beads and kind of just glopped it on there, used a glove, and just kind of like went around. I figured that would hold it in good. It's tacked in, but it was like a hole like that big. Then there was two other firewall holes that I patched up over here. They don't look the prettiest right now, but I'll get some paint on those and they'll look fine. Then last step is this firewall pretty much now. So if you have a fuel cell in the back like this, you do need to seal up everything away from you. So going to you know, use these two pieces of scrap steel that I had. I bought like a ton of just random scrap steel so that I can you know, do whatever I need to do with it. I'm gonna, you know, make this panel. I'm using this thing that I have. I've had this for a while, kind of just one of those random, I'll probably end up using it eventually type of purchases. And I'm just gonna cut this out in a way where I can slide this one over and that one over, and then there's this, you know, they're basically perfect. So I'm going to either bolt those in or nutsert them. There's not a whole lot of meat in a way to go to, but figure that out once I get to that step. First step is to just make them so they slide all the way over. Then I have all of these guys. I don't know if this is stock. If anybody knows, like these, that doesn't look like OEM, but maybe it is. I don't know. Honestly, it's weird look. I mean, it's cool. It's like speed holes, but I don't know if that's OEM. So then I have all of these little ones to seal up. I don't know how I'm gonna seal those up yet, but I'll figure that out soon enough here. Unfortunately, the back glass is on a back order right now, so not gonna have a rear windshield in just yet, but that shouldn't be a big issue. Most people kind of, a lot of people don't run a rear window. I don't know what the rules say about it, but figure that out. Well, it's not as pretty as I would like to make it, but it's definitely pretty tough to make something like that kind of just slips over. I've never really done this before, but learning. I used this Zip Tools little, I don't remember what this thing was called, but it's freaking awesome for just going to town on metal like that. It cuts out perfect little pieces so easily, and it's not an air saw or a sawzall or anything. It just zips right through this stuff. So guys, wait till you see it. Dang, 240 has a piece of glass again. Huge thank you to No Time Auto Glass. Local company came by today at like 8 o'clock, put this in, and only took him like 15 minutes. He just dropped it right in. Super easy install. So happy to finally have a windshield in it, and I can't wait to freaking go drive this thing now. Oh, we're so close. I am just patching up the rear here. As you can see, I made, you know, these two plates, and I put some trim around it so that once it's tight, it won't rattle. That was my worry. I don't want this thing to freaking, I would hate for these two to just rattle, so I just made that little trim piece. And then I made the brackets already that are gonna hold it on there. Like I bent up brackets like this. We're just gonna go like that. That will hold one of them, and then the other one will hold over there, and this one will hold over here. And then we'll have 3 of these. I'm gonna trim these up and cut them down, but that'll hold it in there. So that should not move once there's a bunch of those. That should hold it. And then time to get to all these. All right, guys, well, I am sitting here on the laptop trying to set up some safety parameters for the Holly just in case, because the oil pan on this car, they're known to drain the oil pan. So it happens, and I want to try to figure that. I want to make sure that I don't kill these bearings too quickly. So I'm gonna set up a couple safety parameters, and hopefully that will save this motor in the event of me sending it a little too hard. So this may not be the best idea, because if it happens like mid-slide, it could really screw me up, but I think if a car just kind of turns off mid-slide, you can probably correct it enough and save yourself. So, show you guys what I'm doing here. So let me just tell you, I am no Holley expert. I am watching videos and listening to people that I know what they're doing. Devin, I don't know how to say his last name. He has a lot of good Holley videos. Just watched his on setting up safeties. So how he did it was, you go to outputs, you make your own, your own output. I put it as OP safety, oil pressure safety. So if any of these sensors so if oil pressure sensor gets below 25 PSI, or if coolant temp sensor gets above 250 degrees, two issues that I want to not have on this car. I can add more if I want to. I can add like 5 different parameters. It will cut ignition at 2.5 seconds of either of those situations. So if the car goes into either of those situations for over 2.5 seconds, it will cut ignition. So that's how I have it set up for now. I don't know if that'll give me any problems with other things, you know, like you change something like this and 6 other things could kind of fall in line because of it. My only worry is oil pressure and cranking might be my only issue, but if it should have enough oil pressure on cranking to where it should be fine. So we'll know really quickly once I go to start it up. Shouldn't be a problem, but I'm gonna load that tune in and that should be good. There's a couple other different trick things that he did, but they're a little more than I needed, honestly. They were more for like high power nitrous cars, or you know, big power drag cars or something like that. This should be just enough for what I'm trying to do. All right, time to actually have a catch can on this motor. This motor has spent its entire life without a catch can. It always had just this little breather. It worked well, but it didn't actually catch any of the ethanol, so the oil always kind of got filled with gas, you know? So mounted this nice motion catch can right here, turn the wheel all the way so I know it won't hit it. Even if it does, it'll probably just bend it a little bit. Bend the bracket a little bit. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but there's no good spot to put this. I could put it up here, but it just didn't sit right. It's too tall with the hood. It won't clear. So this is the spot we went with. I used a couple nutserts here and then just screwed it right to the shock tower. Now that I have a windshield in, it's time to actually drive the car a little more. So I'm gonna take it a lot around the block now, like, you know, put maybe 10-20 miles on it, make sure everything feels good, make sure temperature is good, you know, brake pressure, all that kind of good stuff. Check on the power steering, make sure no clunks or rubbing or anything crazy. The firewall that I made is drying, just waiting for that to dry from paint, and I'll slap it in. Pretty easy deal. So I brought my laptop and a fire extinguisher. It's pretty much my only things I brought with me, and a cell phone that's dying. All right, let's take this thing on a little drive. I got a GoPro in the back to hopefully get some sound clips, and we got this one right here to hopefully get some sound clips as well. I don't know if you can see the GoPro, it's like kind of right behind me on the trunk with a magnet. Welded diff. Alright, we're up to 170. Fan should be on. Things are rattling. Well, after just semi-aggressively driving this, I mean, I wouldn't even call that aggressively driving it. After just driving it with a little bit of pep, I can tell you this is a freaking fun car to drive. It feels super solid. Like, obviously there's a lot of clinks and cranks and noises that are coming from it, but everything for the most part is pretty solid mounted. The whole rear subframe's solid mounted, the diff's welded, so there's going to be a lot of noises. Definitely have to be expecting of that. But now that I got like a good, you know, 10-20 miles of driving it, I can pull it in, you know, go under it, nut and bolt the thing, make sure everything's good, make sure there's no leaks. It didn't get above 195 degrees, which is pretty good because it's like 100 degrees ambient out right now, so it's not too bad. It's not as cool as I'd like it, but honestly I don't really know what to expect for temp wise at the moment, but definitely doing well. It's probably not ideal that when I'm driving it there's just the air going through everything. You definitely want to direct air through your radiator. Like if there was some shrouding around here, it would help. But for now, this is how it's going to be. We'll see what it does when we're actually thrashing it. But I mean, that was pretty good. I'm happy with that. It felt freaking solid. Oil pressure was not as high as I'd like to see, but that was pretty good. I'm just still feeling out what this motor likes and what we're going to be expecting with this. So not 100% sure what I should be looking for yet, but you know, 35 psi of oil pressure at idle, 30 psi at idle is not terrible. I can live with that. But let's pull this thing back in the garage and go through it. Power steering worked great. Felt super awesome, and like it was tight, but it was also easy to steer all at once, which is exactly what I wanted. Oh, it's so nice having a windshield too. But that's enough rambling for today. Unfortunately, I gotta go edit, so we won't be able to see what this firewall looks like once it's in place, but it'll be in very shortly. So that'll do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the sound clips in there. Keep it saucy. See you next time.